Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Matt here back with another video for you. Today I'm going to be talking about hotels versus Airbnb. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so right in this video I'm going to give you the pros and the cons of hotels and Airbnbs, and then I'm going to tell you about my own personal preference where I prefer to stay. So let's start with hotels and let's start with the pros. So one of the major pros of staying in a hotel is you get maid service. Yes, in an Airbnb, there is no maid. You are the maid. You have to clean up after yourself when you're there and when you leave. Also, hotels, another major thing that's different about hotels and Airbnb is hotels a lot less interaction. You don't have no host. In Airbnb, you have a host you got to be constantly texting and communicating with. Hotels, you don't have that. So, some people like that they don't have to deal with a host all day, texting them, communicating. They just like to get in and get out. Now I'm going to list the cons of staying in a hotel. One of the major cons is no kitchen. Unless you're staying like in a Homewood Suites, you're most likely not going to have a kitchen in the hotel. Another con of hotel is it's technically smaller than an Airbnb, most hotels. Another huge thing about hotels that's a con is parking. Parking can get very, very expensive depending which hotel and how many days that you stay. And I gotta remember now that we live in 2019, these hotels, they got those Wi-Fi charges. You gotta look out for those too. That's another major con of staying in a hotel compared to an Airbnb. So there you guys go. There's my pros and my cons for hotels. Now let's get into Airbnbs. Alright, now we're going to get into the pros and cons of Airbnb. So the exciting thing about staying in an Airbnb is you have your own kitchen. That is a major pro. And also saves you a lot of money because you can cook your own food instead of going out eating at a restaurant every night as you would if you're staying in a fancy hotel. Another thing, major pro of Airbnb is that you can live like a local. You're not going to be like feeling like a guest like you would if you do in a hotel. You can also meet other travelers through Airbnb too. And also, huge advantage of Airbnb is parking. You don't have to pay those outrageous parking fees like you do if you stay in a downtown hotel. And the last major pro of Airbnb is it's flexible for check-in time. You can message the host and say, hey, I'm checking in early. Is that possible? Sometimes you go to a hotel, say I'm checking in early. Oh, your room's not ready yet. So Airbnb has a lot of good pros to it. Now get ready for the cons of Airbnb. But don't worry, they're not too bad. So the major con of Airbnb is the host can cancel on you. It doesn't happen very often, but I've heard of it happening to people where they book the Airbnb, it's perfect, they get there, and then boom, the host cancels on them. This is avoidable if you make sure you book through a superhost. Superhosts are verified hosts through Airbnb, which Airbnb actually verifies themselves to make sure they're good, loyal hosts with good reviews and they treat their clients and customers right. So that's another big tip about them. Another thing, Airbnb, which happened to me one time, is the Airbnb didn't look like the pictures at all. Like, in the pictures, it was beautiful, it was a mansion, but when we checked in, it didn't quite look like that at all. So you got to be careful about that on Airbnb, which can also be avoidable too if you do book through a superhost. So that's pretty much the only two really negative things about Airbnb. Another one is the cleaning fee, but technically hotels have that too. It's just built into the price. So there you go. There are my pros and my cons of hotels and Airbnbs. Now, let's get into my final thoughts and opinions of what I prefer to stay at. So here it is. So getting into my final opinion, this is how I see it for me. I prefer hotels if I'm staying 1 to 2 days, quick and easy, in and out. But if I'm staying 3 to 14 days, I prefer Airbnb just for the convenience and just overall Airbnb I believe is better than staying in hotels, but I'm not going to knock hotels for short-term stays. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And if you want to try out Airbnb, there is a link in the description below, which can save you some money when you book Airbnb and give me some money back to help me when I stay at Airbnb. So I hope you liked that video, guys. I'll see you on in the next one. Bye.